Welcome to my next presentation with respect to the file management systems. So in this entire presentation we are going to discuss about the secondary storage management and its various techniques used to support the secondary storage management. As we know that in the secondary storage management, every entire space is divided into the number of blocks. So in the file management system, now we are going to store, we want to store the entire file into the particular block. Okay. So on a secondary storage, a file consists of a collection of blocks. It may be a continuously stored or non-continuously, so randomly stored. Now my file is ready, I want to store into the secondary storage device. Then now who is going to allocate the particular block to the respective block to my own file, whether it is the operating system or is the responsibility of the file management systems. When we are doing like this, it raises the two management issues. As one is called as the space on the secondary storage device must be allocated to file. So the space is also the major constraint, and we need to keep track of the various free buffer list, whether what are the buffers are freely available for storing the next files or next records. But these two tasks are interrelated, since why it is, once if we know the particular block is allocated, we will take that particular block from the free buffered list only. So there is always a relation between allocation and free space management. The same approach may be used, and there is an interaction between file structure and allocation policy. In this, there are certain issues that are associated in the file allocation. One, when a new file is created, is the maximum space required for the file allocated at once. That is, when a new file is created, whenever we created the new file, what is the maximum size required for the file allocated at once? That is, within the same block we can able to store the entire maximum file or not. So the space is allocated to a file as one or more contiguous unit, that is, it may be a continuous unit which we shall refer to as a portion, that is called as a portion. So what do you mean by portion? Portion is a contiguous set of allocated blocks. So the size of the portion can range from a single block or the entire file or the entire block. So the major issues in this with respect to the portion is what size of the portion should be used for the file allocation. Next, what sort of data structures or table is used to keep track of the portions assigned to a file. For example, in some file systems we are using the file allocation table which we found in DOS operating system. So I will repeat the issues once again. The issues are with respect to the when a new file is created, is the maximum size, because whenever we creating the file, the size is also to be specified, is the maximum space is required for the file allocated at once. In the same time that the entire space is allocated to store the particular file or not. That is the first issue. And second issue is, if the space is allocated to a file as one or more contiguous unit, that is a continuous unit, that is called as a portion. Now the major question arises with respect to the portion is, what is the size of the portion should be used for the file allocation, and after that, once if we identify the portion, then in what data structures I am going to use to keep track of all the allocated blocks. So these all are the three major issues which mainly focusing on the secondary storage devices. So to address all these things, now we are going for the concepts which is called as a pre-allocation versus a dynamic allocation schemes. So in this pre-allocation, the maximum size of the file declared during the file creation stage itself. So whenever the file is created, the maximum size of the particular file is also defined. So this value can be reliably estimated. In some cases, this value can be reliably estimated. When, what are the cases? When during the program compilation, we can easily estimate the size of the file. And the production of summary data files also, we can easily identify the size of the file. Or the transfer of a file from one system to the another system over the communication network, that time also we will come to know what is the size of the particular file. But in many applications, now this is very difficult and impossible technique to determine the size of the maximum size of the particular file. So user and application programs would tend to overestimate file size so as not to run out of space. So what they usually do is they will give the file size as a maximum file size, so that they will not encounter the problem of out of space memory. So if we are using, if any user or any application programmers are using such a techniques, obviously from the perspective of secondary storage allocations, the entire memory is wasteful. So there are certain advantages to the dynamic allocation scheme, in which the portion is allocated, that is a space is allocated whenever it is needed. Whenever a block is needed or a portion of memory is needed to store the particular data, then we will allocate the specific space. That is called as a dynamic allocation. Next is portion size. What is the size of the portion? So the second issue deals about the what is the size of the portion. Now this size of the portion is maybe a fixed size or a variable size. On one extreme, a portion of a large file to hold the entire file is allocated, that is a large space is allocated. Or on another one extreme end, a particular block at a time, a space on the disk is allocated one block at a time. In choosing a portion size, there is a trade-off between the efficiency of the from the point of view of the single system file versus the overall system. So there is a trade-off between the single file versus the overall file systems, especially based on the efficiency. So I will repeat once again, the portion size. What is the size of the portion? Then it may be the two way we can allocate the portion. One is a large block, large size. The portion may be a large enough to hold the entire file, or otherwise we can go with the block. Okay. Now in this case we will find found the bottleneck with respect to the efficiency, both in a single file versus the overall file system. So there are the four items which leads to the trade-offs. One is the contiguity of space increases performance. The continuous increases the performance, especially for retrieve next operation, and generally this will be used for the transaction oriented operating systems. That is, if we are allocating the blocks in a continuous manner, that it will increase the system performances. Having a large number of small portions increases the size of tables need to manage the allocation information. Having a fixed size portions simplifies the reallocation space. Having a variable size or a simple fixed size portions minimizes waste of unused storage due to over allocation. So there are two major alternatives we are going to use it here to overcome the entire problems which we are facing the earlier schemes. So one which is called as a variable large contiguous portions, that is the files we are going to allocate the large space with a variable size, and allocation is done only with the help of the contiguous way. So in this case what will happen, it will the performance of the system will increase because it is a contiguous one. We need not to keep on search where the rest of the file is stored in the particular file systems. So that way we can able to improve the performance, but it avoids the wastage of the space. And file allocation table is small. then the space is hard to reuse, that is it forms the internal fragmentation. So the next scheme is a blocks. So here we have a small fixed portions provide a greater flexibility. Whenever a request is needed for allocation, then we need to allocate the satisfy the request by allocating the certain blocks to the files. Either the option is compatible with pre-allocation or dynamic allocation. Now this option, the variable size or a block, is compatible with the pre-allocation as well as also the dynamic allocation. So in case of a variable, we have a large contiguous block and the file is pre-allocated one contiguous group of blocks. So this eliminates the needs of the file allocation table. So in this case, there is not necessary of the any file allocation table, because a file is pre-allocated one. Because a file is a pre-allocated one. We need only the pointer to the first block to check where are the rest of the blocks. So the pointer is used here. In all these cases, all of the portions required allocated one at a time, because it is a pre-allocated, and a file allocation table for the file will be remain fixed size and the number of blocks allocated is fixed, because it is a pre-allocated, we cannot be able to change that. So for this we are encountering the problem as the fragmentation. It concerned with the fragmentation of free spaces. So for that we are going for some alternative strategies. One, the first fit. So to optimally use the variable allocation scheme, we are going for certain strategies which we seen already in the memory allocation schemes. One is called as the first fit, and second one is a best fit, and the next one is a nearest fit. So the first fit, it chooses the first unused contiguous group of blocks. In the first fit, it chooses a first unused contiguous group of blocks, that is sufficient, more than sufficient size from a free block list. So we have to allocate, in the first fit algorithm it says we have to allocate the first freely available block to satisfy the request, and the best fit we have to search which one is the smallest unused block which is satisfy the particular size. So that is called as the best fit. When the nearest fit, it is based on the previous allocation only. So it will identify the unused group with respect to whether it is equivalent to the size, that is mainly on the closest to the previous allocation for the file to increase locality, the portion size. So it is not clear which strategy. So in this mechanism, it does not define which is the best one. Okay, but if I want to use some other alternative strategies, so there are the many factors influences we have to take it into the consideration while we want to choose or design some other alternative strategies. One, what is the type of file, and next one, what is the pattern of the file access. Next, what is the degree of multiprogramming? Is the multiprogramming is the highest way or a medium? And other performance factors in the systems like disk caching and disk scheduling. So these are the factors we need to take into the consideration if we want to use the alternative strategies. So the file allocation methods. So in this case, it is clearly understood that if we have a block, then it is easy for us to allocate the particular files. The efficient, it gives the greater flexibility and it is a efficient way. But if it is a variable size, the major concern here is a fragmentation. It may be a internal fragmentation or the external fragmentation. So we are going for other allocation methods. One is a contiguous allocation method, that is the allocation is done in a continuous manner. And the next one is a chained allocation method. Here we are having the pointer from one block into the another block, and we have a indexed. So what will happen in this indexed scheme is the entire block, one block is acting as an indexed block. So all the indexed value of the particular other blocks will be stored in that. So with the help of that indexed block, we can easily identify where are the rest of the files are stored. Okay. So now this is a table. It summarizes the characteristics of each and every method. With respect to the pre-allocation or a fixed allocation or a variable allocation, what is the portion size, what is the allocation frequency, and when it's supposed to allocate, whether it is a pre-allocated or after that. So next is file allocation table size. In contiguous allocation, the first mechanism is called as a contiguous allocation. It means that it is called as a continuous allocation. Okay. So here we are going to use the file allocation table. So in this file allocation table, it have the values. It consists of only the starting block and the length of the file. Only the starting, every file, it have the every file entry. In the file allocation table, it have a every file entry is there. For every file entry, it have a starting block and the length of the block. Okay. This is also suitable for the pre-allocation strategy using a variable size portions. So see this example, the diagram. This is a contiguous file allocation. Here this is called as a file allocation table. Here the every file is located here. Every in the file allocation table, it have the entry of every file. It have the starting block address and the length of the particular file. See in the file A, it is stored in the block number 2. So it is stored in the block number 2, and length it is a 3. So it means that it is stored in the 3 continuous blocks. So it is a 2, 3, 4. So this is a way a file is going to be stored. Okay, and file B, the starting location is 9. Okay, 9 and length is 5. So the continuous 5 blockage is allocated from the 9th one. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that is to be allocated for the particular file B. Now in this case, it follows the internal fragmentation because in between, it follows the external fragmentation because in between some of the blocks are freely available. So we cannot be able to use those blocks. For that case, whenever we need to have the, frequently we need to have the compaction mechanism to reduce this external fragmentation to make use of the free spaces for the newly arrived requests, to satisfy the new request. So multiple blocks can be read to improve the I/O performances. So it also easy to retrieve a single block. Suppose if I want to search the ith block, then if I want to know the location of the secondary storage, it is a B plus I minus 1. What is a B? B is called as a block and I is called as ith block. So it has some problems, as I said earlier. The major concern here is external fragmentation. So frequently we need to perform the compaction algorithm to free up the unused spaces into the one place. So this is a simple example. Another one modified concept after applying the compaction of this continuous file allocation. See this, after the continuous file compaction, all the unused blocks are arranged in one place. And the next concept is called as chained allocation. Now it is entirely different from the continuous allocation scheme. Now allocation is on a individual block basis. It is based on the block only. So it requires a pointer to identify the next block. So the major aim of the major concern here in the chained blocks is we need to maintain a pointer to identify the next blocks. So in the file allocation table, the single entry for each file is required and it have the starting block and the length of the particular file. Here the pre-allocation is possible here. So chained allocation mechanism is also we can use the pre-allocation concepts. So any free blocks can be added to a chain. Now whenever once the block is allocated, now if there is any free spaces are there, then that need to be added into the free space list, that is also acting as a chain. In this case, there is no external fragmentation because only one block at a time is needed. Now this algorithm, so this concept is best suited for the sequential file access. So if we want to select the individual files, that only way we can able to trace the pointer to the desired block to reach the desired block. So tracing through the chain to the desired block. See in this example, for a file B, the starting block is 1 and length is 5. So it means that it's stored in the starting block size, block is a first block, and it also have the size is it having the 5 blocks. Okay, so 1, that is a starting block. So from that we have the pointer is there. So from that pointer we can track. So then the next block is a 8. And it also have the pointer we can track, then it is a 3, then it is a 14, then it is a 28. So totally in a file B, it is stored in a 5 blocks. So this is a way a chained allocation mechanism is going to be used. In this case, there is no external fragmentation. Okay, so there is no accommodation of the principle of locality. The major concern here is there is no principle of locality. That is, it is necessary to bring in several blocks of a file at a time. As in a sequential processing, then a series of access to different parts of the disk are required. This perhaps a more significant effect on the single user system, but may also be concerned in the SAD system. We can easily make use of this system in a single user system, but in a SAD system, to tracking of this each and every free spaces is tedious. So to overcome this, we need to go for the consolidated files. So periodically, as similar to the compaction, here we need to go for the consolidated files. So after the consolidation, what we are going to do is we are going to allocate a, that is, we are going to divide the allocated space into the one area, that is in a continuous area, and a free buffer list into the another one area, that is called as a consolidate files. So this is a typical diagram for cleaned allocation after the consolidation. Next is the indexed allocation. Now I will directly go to the diagram. See, in this indexed allocation, we need a file allocation table. It is also suitable for a pre-allocation, and what is happen is here every file have a entry, only one entry, that is called as a indexed block. Now this block number 24, it acting as a indexed block. When we go on this indexed block, it have the various number of blocks. 1, 8, 3, 14, 8. So where the particular file B is stored, the file is stored in the block number 1, block number 8, block number 3, block number 14 and block number 28. So this 24, the block is acting as a indexed value of the respective block. Okay. So the file allocation table consists of a separate one level index for each file. So the file indexes are not physically stored. It is not physically stored. So the file allocation table points to that particular block. Allocation may be done with the help of either the fixed size block or a variable size portions. If we have a variable size, now this is called as a variable size. In turn, a indexed table, it maintains the file allocation table of with starting address 1 and length is 3. It means that it's starting from the first block and it takes a 3, 1, 2, 3, and the next portion is stored in the block 28 and it takes the length of the 4, another 4 records, 28, 29, 30, 31. Then 14th, it takes only 1, so it only in the 14th alone. Okay. So this eliminates the external fragmentation and it also improves the locality, because now this index table, it acting address of the rest of the blocks where the file is stored. So the file consolidation may be done from time to time. Now this reduces the size of the index. So this scheme reduces the size of the index. Now this is can be used supports with both the sequential and direct access to the file, and moreover it is a most popular form of the file allocation system. Which one? A indexed file system. And we will go for the free space management. So far we have discussed the concept of how we can allocate the files into the free spaces, that is a blocks, okay, especially in the secondary storage, or other way we can say what is a mechanisms or what is a concepts we are following to occupy a block or allocate a block in the secondary memory to store the files. Okay, so we seen the three major mechanisms. One is called as a contiguous allocation scheme, and second one is a indexed allocation scheme, and third one is chained allocation scheme. Now the another one important concept which influences the system performances, that is called as free space management. That is, here what we are going to discuss is in what way we are going to identify the free spaces in the secondary block to satisfy the future request, and do we have any concept or any mechanism which is similar, which like all the free blocks are stored in a contiguous manner. So that is a major thing we are going to discuss in the free space management. Now here the free space management is, here we are going to use, instead of the file allocation table, here we are going to use the disk allocation table, because a free space management is used for the disk. From the disk only we are going to identify where are the buffer, blocks are free. So that's why we are going to use a disk allocation table. Okay, so the first concept is called as a bit table. So in this bit table, one bit of the each and every disk is used for a used to identify whether it is allocated or it is not allocated. So it is a vector. Say for an example, if 0 in the vector, if it is a 0, that means the block is a free. If it is a 1, a block is allocated. So see in this diagram, we have a 35 blocks. In these 35 blocks, how we are going to segregate as a free blocks and a allocated blocks by using a bit table. See that the first two blocks are not allocated, so 0 0, because 0 is meant for a free block, and the next three blocks are allocated, so next continuous 3 continuous 1 1 1 1. So next 4 blocks are not allocated, so 0. So next 5 blocks are allocated, next 5 ones. So likewise we are going to maintain a vector to identify what are the blocks are allocated and what are the blocks are free. Okay, so it is with the length of the particular vector is a 35, is because in this diagram we have a 35 blocks are there. So the major advantages of this bit table is we can easily find the contiguous group of free blocks. How? See in this, this is a contiguous, and this is also the contiguous, this is contiguous, this is contiguous. So it is easy to identify the contiguous free blocks, and a bit table work well with any of the file allocation methods. If we can use the FAT or NTF file systems, so whatever the file allocation methods we can it can use it. We can use it. It works well, and it is very small. It can be sizable. So the amount of memory required for the particular block bitmap is the disk size in bytes divided by 8 into file system blocks. in the 16 GB of a disk, so every 16 the 16 GB of the disk is divided into the blocks with the size of the 512 bytes. For this, the bit table length is 4 MB. Next, for the chained free portion, in this chained free portion, how we are going to maintain that? So it is like a linked list. We can say simply it is a linked list. So all the free allocation freely available disk are associated with the pointer. So we have a one header is there. That header it identify from the header, we can able to identify it have the pointer to the next block which is freely available. So the free portion may be chained together by using a pointer and length value in each free portion. So the pointer is used here, so it acts as a chain. Okay, so this method has a negligible space overhead because there is no need of a disk allocation table here. Here only the pointer is, the linked list is more than sufficient. So this method is suited to all of the file allocation methods. If allocation is a block at a time, simply choose the free block at the head of the chain and adjust the first pointer or length value. So in this case, for a variable length portion, a first fit algorithm may be used. The pointer and length values are adjusted to make use of the freely available list. So this method have its own problems. After some use, the disk will become quite fragmented and many portions will be a single block long. Every time you allocate a block, you need to read the block first to recover the pointer to the new first free block before writing the data to that block. Next is indexing. So indexing scheme is here all the free spaces are identified with the help of some indexed table. So for this efficiency, the index should be on the basis of variable size portions rather than the blocks. So there is one entry in the table for every free portion on the disk. This approach is an efficient support for all of the file allocation methods. So free block list, in this method each block is assigned a number. The third mechanism is called as in each and every block is assigned with some numbers, and with that numbers we can easily identify where are the free blocks with the help of the linked list concepts. So all the freely available blocks are stored in the form of a linked list, and then we can maintain we can reserve some portion of the disk also for this. So it depends upon the size of the disk. One either 24 or 32 bits will be needed to store a single block number. The size of the free block list is 24 or 32 times the size of the corresponding bit table. Must be stored on disk rather than in main memory. Must be stored on the disk rather than in main memory. So now this is a satisfactory method. So next is volumes. Volume is somewhat different from different operating systems and the file management, because sometimes the entire logical disk is acting as a one volume. So what do you mean by volume? Volume is a collection of addressable sectors in secondary memory that an OS or application can use for data storage. So it is a collection of addressable sectors. The sectors in a volume need not be consecutive on the physical storage device. A volume may be the result of assembling and merging smaller volumes. So the single disk is equivalent to the one volume, or even we can divide that entire disk into the small portions. That is also treated as a volume. It is also common to treat multiple disks as a single volume of portions and multiple disks as a single volume. So reliability. Consider the following scenario. A user A requests a file allocation to add to an existing file. So user A requests a file allocation. Okay, user A want to store the particular file in the existing file. Okay, the request is granted and the disk and file allocation tables are updated in main memory, but not yet on disk. The system crashes and subsequently restarts. User B requests a file allocation and is allocated space on disk that overlaps the last allocation to user A. Now the user A accesses the overlapped portion via reference that is stored inside A's file. So in this scenario, system maintained a copy of the disk allocation table and file allocation table in the main memory for efficiency. Now to prevent this type of a error, the following steps to be performed. One is lock the disk allocation table for preventing other users to access the particular file allocation table while the specific user is using it. Next, search the disk allocation table for available space. Then allocate the space and update the allocated status into the disk allocation table and update the disk. And update the file allocation table and update the disk. Unlock the disk allocation table. So this is a way we can able to prevent the errors. Now this can be effectively used in the batch storage. Now to reduce this overhead, the batch storage allocation scheme can be used. So in this case, a batch of free portions on the disk is obtained for allocation. So whenever it is visited, then it can be marked as in use. That is, if it is allocated, it is marked as use. So from this presentation, we can easily identify how it is very clearly understood that how we can manage the secondary storage devices, especially the allocation, how the allocation can be done in the secondary storage devices. That is how, in what way the files are stored in the secondary allocations. Okay, thank you.